Marty Nemko. The Wall Street Journal's opinion pages, not its news pages, represents one of the few remaining credible breaks from the relentless woke media. And I occasionally find op-eds that are worthy of your time, and this is one. This is Harvard is an Islamist Outpost by Ruth Wiss. I taught at Harvard from 1993 to 2014, and I don't think the federal government's threats will be effective at changing the university's culture. Harvard's leaders don't yet understand the danger that culture poses to the country or why it requires intervention. On September 11, 2001, the Islamists of Al-Qaeda attacked the U.S. in a suicide mission that used U.S. planes as their instruments of destruction. On October 7, 2023, Hamas Islamists exploited Israel's openness by invading the country, massacring civilians and kidnapping others. Jihadists use these new forms of warfare against those they can't conquer by force. What concerns us here is their capture of elite American schools as outposts. Harvard became directly implicated on October 8, 2023, when the Undergraduate Palestinian Solidarity Committee issued a statement endorsed by more than 30 student groups that asserted that, quote, the Israeli regime was entirely responsible for all unfolding violence, that is October 7th. Students for Justice in Palestine declared October 12th a, quote, day of resistance and had a toolkit ready for the encampments and demonstrations that spread beyond campus. Harvard was a soft target for foreign penetration. The 1960s civil rights laws that outlawed discrimination failed to satisfy those who sought equal outcomes. The university responded with group preferences in hiring for women and minorities. That elevated grievance groups and put Harvard solidly in the activist, quote, progressive camp. With rare exceptions, there would be no more hiring of conservatives or teaching their, quote, reactionary ideas. By the 1990s, black campus groups were hosting Afrocentric and Nation of Islam speakers who agitated against whites and Jews. In 1992, Professor Henry Louis Gates warned, quote, this is anti-Semitism from the top down, engineered and promoted by leaders who affect to be speaking for a larger resentment. To this grievance coalition were added groups of Marxists, anti-capitalists, anti-colonialists, and anti-imperialists. The 2011 Occupy Wall Street encampments were allowed to close Harvard Yard for several months. All these demonstrators lacked a common cause until they united around the handiest target in the history of civilization under the guise of liberating the Palestinians. In a recent letter to the Harvard community, President Alan Garber acknowledges valid concerns about rising anti-Semitism. Harvard's record provides ample evidence for this claim. Campus coalitions for jihad count on liberal administrators to accommodate their assault. The most useful of many political functions of anti-Zionism, as with anti-Semitism before Jews returned to their homeland, is building coalitions of grievance and blame against a small nation with a universally inflated and mostly negative image. This galvanizing enmity has united the Pan-Arab and Islamist alliance against Israel since 1948. It powered the Red-Green Coalition at the United Nations and seeds anti-Israel campus coalitions that are anti-American in all but name. Attacking only the Jews, now only Israel, is key to its becoming the world's most powerful anti-democratic ideology. The goal of destroying Israel remains central to Arab and Islamist identity and was admitted to Harvard along with some foreign students and investors. The Education Department reports that the university received more than $100 million from the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Bangladesh between January 2020 and October 24. In 2007, I began warning successive presidents and deans that academic standards were being violated by the substitution of anti-Israel propaganda for a comprehensive program in the Center of Middle East Studies. They acknowledged the problem, but refused to address it. As long as other institutions took Muslim money and ignored the war against the Jews, why should Harvard be holier than the Pope? October 7th, like Kristallnacht in 1938, forced some people to confront what they tried to ignore. Students and faculty celebrating the atrocities against Israel could have been perpetrating them given the chance. A committee of the new Harvard Jewish Alumni Alliance investigated the campus, quote, hatred, and found it, quote, worse than we had anticipated, end quote. Ideological anti-Zionism governed not only the Center for Middle Eastern Studies, but also the School of Public Health and the Divinity School, and figured in departments ranging alphabetically from anthropology and African American studies to the Weatherhead Institute of International Affairs, and academically from music to the medical school. Harvard undertook a similar review only under pressure from Congress. The university had taken steps to prevent campus unrest by curtailing the Jewish and Christian presence. The Semitic Museum, established by Jacob Schiff in 1907 to make the same point as the Abraham Accords about the common sources of the three religions, was renamed the Museum of the Ancient Near East. Archaeological projects in Israel were discontinued, and museum collections that were once centered on the Bible in Jerusalem were refocused on the pyramids. There are still good people and programs at Harvard, and I am grateful for my time there. In an ideal world, the government wouldn't micromanage universities. But if Harvard shirks its responsibility to allow itself to be hijacked by an Islamist-inspired grievance coalition, why would it expect any support from the government? Anyway, that's an op-ed in yesterday's Wall Street, or maybe it was a week ago's Wall Street Journal opinion pages. It's called "Harvard is an Islamist Outpost" by Ruth Wiss. And of course, Harvard is merely the exemplar. This really redounds pretty much through all of higher ed. It's an old axiom that if Harvard starts, it redounds to the rest from there. In any case, I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel, and certainly would welcome you taking a look at any of my 35 books. Perhaps most relevant is A Dose of Reality, but all 35 are on Amazon. In any event, I thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.